Guys, and welcome to the second episode of the Sunday Routine by the Trading Field. So as we mentioned in the first video, the idea behind these new episodes is to share our analysis, give you a little insight into the markets that we're going to be looking at for the week ahead, and also to journal the past week's trades to see how they played out. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is that I'm here alone today. Matt's actually not here with me. He's in the UK, so I'll give you a little bit of a story behind why he's in the UK. Now, in our members chat, for anyone that's following our signals, I said to them, if we have a really good week, I will fly out somewhere and I will let them choose the destination. They chose Singapore. So I went to Singapore for 3 or 4 days. And upon my return, they said, do something else crazy, motivate us. So Matt flew to the UK first class with Emirates. That cost us a lot of money, but hopefully it motivated everyone in the group to really take the trading to the next level. Now, without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into the video analysis, journaling the past week that's just gone to show you the markets that we were looking at and how they played out in terms of trades that we took. All right, guys, so as I mentioned, Matt's actually in the UK right now, but he will be joining us in the latter part of this video to share his analysis and his input for the week ahead. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is to journal the past week's trades to show you the analysis that we placed last week to see how that played out in the end, and also share with you the trades that we actually took and see how they played out as well. Now, if you remember correctly, we were looking at around 15 markets in total going into the week ahead, but we actually only placed about 6 trades. So there's a lesson in that itself, which we'll cover later on in this video. Now, to begin the trading week, we placed a trade on GBP CAD. Now, if you remember correctly, we were very bullish on GBP going into the week ahead. We were looking at this highlighted reversal zone to be able to go long on the market. So this was actually an intraday position that we placed to head down towards our reversal zone. So we actually got into the market here around the 1.74 region. Okay, so our initial target was around 1.725. We actually ended up getting out of this market very early, but still we managed to gain 64 pips out of this at a risk-reward ratio of 1.1. Now, as I mentioned, this was our zone highlighted to be able to go long on the market. But again, there is a lesson in this that you have to watch the price action within these zones to be able to go and to back up the analysis to be able to go long on the market. Now, if you see this candle right here, that is not an indication in any shape or form to be able to go long on the market. So the analysis didn't really play out in the end. Although we took a nice intraday position, the analysis to go long on this market didn't really play out in the end, so we didn't actually end up taking that trade. So secondly, we're looking at the Aussie dollar Swiss franc. Again, we were very bullish on Aussie dollar. We were looking at a long position if we get into this zone and see the price action play out and help us to be able to take a good entry position to be able to get some pips out of this market. Now, we did enter this market at around 0.71, okay, at a really good risk reward because our entry was phenomenal on this case. So a risk reward ratio of 2.12. Now, we gained 108 pips out of this market, literally pretty much drained every single pip that we put out of this market. We could have got a little bit more, but nevertheless, very happy with that trade as a result. Now, we also looked at Euro Aussie dollar. So we were short of this market, looking for a retracement into this zone. So if you can see, we actually did spike up into this zone but the bullish pressure was way too much to be able to enter a short position. So we wouldn't have got a really good entry position if we had entered short into this market right here. So we waited for the price to consolidate a little bit, give us signs of the sellers coming into this market, and that's when we took this trade. And we took this trade at this massive candle coming into play, and that was around the 1.95 region. Okay, so again, a very tight stop, giving us a risk reward of 1.87 in this case. Now again, if we had held onto this trade, we would have got a lot more pips out of this market. But nevertheless, a successful trade, and more importantly, a risk reward ratio of 1.87. Again, on this one, we gained 118 pips, possibly could have got another 50, 60 pips or so out of this market. But that's something that we'll take into consideration for the week ahead, and to see, what we can do to improve and get even more pips. But nevertheless, 118 pips is definitely a good result. Now moving on to USD CAD, again, we were looking for a short position. We were looking for a retracement back into this zone. It didn't really happen, so we didn't want to miss the move, and that is the big move that we were looking for on this market. So we didn't want to miss this move, so we took this trade anyway around the 1.325 region, and that is only because we saw the price action. We liked the fact, that the sellers were coming into this market, and even though we entered around here, we still had a tight stop, giving us a risk-reward ratio of 2.74. That is huge, and obviously we could have got a little bit more out of this market had we held on to the position. But anyway, nevertheless, we saw the market consolidating here. We didn't really like it, and that's when we got out of this market around this region, and we were coming to the end of the trading week. Anyway, so those were our 4 wins from the trading week, from the past trading week. Now let's have a look at some of the losing trades that we had. Now Euro JPY. Okay, now we were initially looking to go long on this market, and we were looking for a retracement back into our reversal zone that we highlighted in the previous week. So we highlighted here with the arrows that we were looking for a pullback into this region to be able to get a really good entry to go long on this market. Now we didn't really see that in the early part of the week, so we entered this position here. Okay, possibly a wrong decision, because we see a massive rejection on that candle there, telling us that the sellers are way too strong within this region right now, and the bullish pressure isn't really there yet. Okay, so luckily we got out of this market, and we took a loss of around 15 pips on this market. So we didn't like, all the sellers coming into the market. We literally got out of that trade. It's very important that you have to stay dynamic with your decision making, because it is a very dynamic market. Things can change from bullish to bearish very quick. Okay, so one of the most important lessons that you'll learn as a trader is to not get emotionally attached to these trades. Okay, if there is a decision that you need to make to get out of this market, go ahead and do that. Okay, so luckily we only saved 15 pips. Had we not done that, we would have definitely hit our stop loss. And another thing to note here is our analysis was actually bang on. Okay, we did eventually come into our reversal zone that we had highlighted. We just got into the trade too early, so that's something that we'll put into our journaling. Okay, and make a note of this as to why we lost this trade. So had we entered when we initially planned to enter, which was into this zone, okay, you can see how much bullish pressure there was, really pushed to the upside from this region. We would have gained a good 100 pips out of this market had we done that. But anyway, nevertheless, we let that trade go. Took minus 15 pips on that trade. And finally, our final trade of the week was the FTSE 100. Now again, this was a losing trade. We lost 55 pips on this trade. We were looking for a short into this position. It didn't really happen. Okay, we actually ended up going short around the major level of 7,000. Just before that, actually, it was around the 6975 region. We were looking to target 100 pips on this market. It didn't happen, but anyway, risk reward was there still of 1.95. It didn't quite happen, but nevertheless, just minus 55 pips, sorry, on this market. So overall, we ended the week up on 322 pips, which again is a very profitable week for us and our members. Now what I'm going to do is pass you on to Matt, who can take you and give you a little bit of an insight into the markets that we're going to be looking at for the week ahead. So Matt, over to you, mate.
Guys, I hope you're all well. As Yasser mentioned, I'm actually out of the UAE at the moment. I'm currently in the UK. Had a fantastic flight home. Really enjoyed the first class experience. Although, to be honest, I did sleep most of the way, but having a shower, however many thousand feet up in the air I am, was a pretty decent experience. So, anyway, thank you, Yasser, for running through all of last week's trades, all of the analysis, and actually just looking back at some of those trades. A lot of the ones that we had, not even from the trades, but from the analysis perspective, a lot of the ones that we actually analyzed last week in YouTube, if you actually have a look, the majority of these ones actually played out. Okay, now not always there was that signal to actually trade these markets. But certainly we had our bias and our direction correct, which is always a good start. So, obviously kicking off with the week ahead. Okay, um, now we've just obviously running through some of the markets, some of the buying and selling zones, and where we perhaps expect these markets to go this week. So I'm going to start with probably our favorite pairs. Okay, so starting with CAD and also starting with JPY. So this week so far, we do anticipate a very bullish Canadian dollar. And we do expect a slightly weaker Japanese yen as well. Okay, so just looking at some of the trades that we are actually going to be focusing on this week, we have got the GBP CAD trade. Okay, so we're looking again for those perfect risk rewards. Okay, now it doesn't mean that these arrows, this is exactly how we expect this market to react this week, but this is what we're looking for in terms of actually entering the market, and we don't want to enter that market until we see those perfect signs and those perfect entries, whereby we'll actually enter, and obviously our signal service members will also look to enter alongside us. So GBP CAD, we are looking for a retracement up to the 1.7250 level. And if we look and we get some good rejections around this level and some good indication that the sellers are going to be taking control, then we do expect these markets to be falling quite a long way, actually, sort of 500 pips or so. Now, it probably won't happen this week. It might happen over the next couple of weeks or so, but we do have a very big long-term target on that. Okay, so we are expecting a much more bullish CAD to come. We also have USD CAD, very similar scenario, a retracement up to the 1.32 level, and then hopefully breaking our sort of major level, our manipulation level of 1.31 and heading down into the 1.30s, 1.29s, and so forth. We then also have CAD JPY. Okay, another nice long setup we've got here, waiting for that pullback just below the 83 level, where we'll then look to go long of this market. Okay. Um, we then start looking at our euro pairs. Okay, so the last three was our favorite. Okay, now the euro pairs so far, the majority of them, okay, do look bearish. So we've got euro CAD, and obviously, as mentioned before, with regards to CAD, we are obviously expecting some stronger Canadian dollar coming out this week. So obviously, we do expect that pullback, or we do want that pullback first to be able to obviously give us that opportunity to enter this market. So we'd be looking for these pullbacks and retracements to around that 1.51 level. Now, this one might not occur. Okay, this one might not occur simply because it is a long way. You're talking almost 100 pips or so. But when you look at some of the other ones that we're focusing on, where we are currently on this market, you can see it's about 70-80 pips or so to where we, not even that, sorry, 60-70 pips or so to our retracement zone, where we would be looking to short the market there. Okay, we then have our Euro GBP. Now, this is the only Euro pair that we are bullish on. Again, looking for that perfect risk reward, looking for that movement into the 87 level or around there, and then hopefully accelerating higher. But again, we will just look once we sort of enter these zones and enter these regions. This is where we'll be looking and focusing on to actually get a long position. Okay. We then have Euro Aussie dollar. So we are expecting some further downside and some further strength after last week's extremely strong Aussie dollar. We are expecting some more Aussie dollar strength and euro weakness. Okay, so our sort of pinpoint in terms of where we're looking is around that 1.59 level to try and look for that short opportunity in this market. We then have GBP pairs. Now, I've kind of narrowed these down. They don't really look that attractive to me after last week's session. So the only ones that do look okay is GBP CAD, simply because we're very bullish of CAD this week. And the final one really for me is GBP NZD. So I do expect a little bit of a pullback to occur to around that kind of 1.90, 1.9050. And then I do believe we're going to be starting a downtrend actually on this market. I think the uptrend, the recent uptrend that we've had from the beginning of December, is going to be coming to an end, and I do think we're going to be start heading lower. Okay, and also if you just zoom out on these charts as well, I do believe that this is pretty much one of our first legs south. We then have our retracement level, okay, and we then have rejected the 1.9250, a very key manipulative zone for this pair. Okay, so I do believe us heading for this 86, so 1.86, and potentially if we get enough selling pressure, we could start heading all the way down here to that 1.84 level as well. We then have Aussie dollar. Again, as I mentioned, we do still believe there is some more strength in the Aussie dollar coming. And when we pair this with the US dollar, again, we are still weak of US dollar at the moment. So we're looking for these sort of pullbacks into the 0.72 region on Aussie dollar, US dollar, where we'll be looking for those opportunities to buy. And also, we are also looking for those opportunities to buy Aussie dollar CHF as well. And again, just looking for that sort of 50, 60 pip retracement, and then watching that price action to try and get those entries. We then have NZD USD, similar scenario. We are long, we are looking to kind of retest those previous highs, and then we'll be looking for that opportunity to go higher on this market. Gold absolutely flew last week. Okay, absolutely flew, and those that are in our signal service and those that are course members that have been in our groups for quite some time will actually know that around 1200, 1220, we did actually call this happening. Okay, we called this market going up to 1300, 1320. So it's been a fantastic result, and we've took a couple of profits along the way, but nowhere near as much as we hoped we had done. So this week, what we think is we do think it needs to have a little bit of a breather, okay? Just a little bit of breather. It's moved up about 50, 60 pips or so. So I do believe that we are probably going to see a little bit of a breather, a little bit of downside. And if we can get an opportunity around this 1321 level, then we will be looking at shorting that market as well. We're also very bullish of the UK now as well. There was an extremely strong week last week, and I don't even think personally we will get the option to jump into this market. Okay, I do think that this market will probably either just hang around and consolidate in this area, or just automatically just begin the week and start flying higher. So if we do get that opportunity where the market does pull back around this 6,900 level, then we will certainly look for long positions. Okay. And finally, just the USD JPY. So again, do expect some movement here on the weaker JPY as mentioned. So we could potentially see this market heading up to that 110 region. But again, perfect risk reward. What we want to see is we want to see that retracement first into this zone, into this area of consolidation, into this sort of demand zone as well. Okay, so pull back, perhaps even retest these EMAs. Okay. And guys, thank you very much for listening. I hope that all made sense to you. This is our views. These are our predictions for the week ahead. As normal, what we will do is we record another video on Sunday next week, where we'll run through all of these charts again with you, showing you exactly what happened, whether or not we were right, whether or not we were wrong, seeing the trades we actually took last week, and then also concentrating on the week ahead as well. So we've had two very strong weeks in a row. Okay, we have excelled and we have beaten 300 pips per week so far in the last 2 weeks. So each week we've made an extra 330 pips just gone, and I think it was 320 pips the previous week as well. So we've had a fantastic couple of weeks. All our members are doing very well, sorry, and we have had a lot of new members join. So welcome to all of you guys. We are very, very happy and appreciative that you guys have put your support in us, and we will only do our absolute best to continue delivering some fantastic results and helping you all make that sort of extra cash on the side. So guys, thanks again. Thanks for joining. Everyone that's already in the group, as always, we do thank you for all your support and all your help. And moving forward, let's hope we have another fantastic week ahead. Thanks, guys.